Hey, welcome to Life Extension Live. I'm Dr. Mike, your host, and this is...
I'm Dr. Crystal Gossard.
How are you?
I am well today.
Coronavirus.
Ooh, hot topic. I know. You just have to take a deep breath.
Yeah. No, we got a lot to cover today.
Yeah, we've been diving deep into the information and really trying to pull from all of the credible sources and information out there.
Credible sources.
In order to really maybe set your mind at ease. You think that's what we'll do today?
I hope so. No, I think we will. I think we have a lot of good information. Okay, so the first thing right off the bat, so coronavirus, if you want to put that first slide up, Robson. By the way, we have Robson running the tech stuff over there. Hi, Robson. Hannah's back there with some of the computers. Hi, Hannah. And then, of course, we have Holly that you can reach out to, and she can send us your questions. Hi, Holly.
Hi.
Were you going to say anything? No?
Welcome. Send us your questions.
So if you go back to that first slide again, because it has a name, right? And so we should, and I think it's important when we name it, we got to keep that name going, right? Because it helps us to understand a little bit better, I feel, right? I think the name is important. So COVID-19. Jeez. COVID-19.
COVID-19 is the name of the disease.
Yeah.
Not
the name of the bug, but don't go there. That's too much.
Okay.
COVID-19.
Yes.
Let's keep it there.
All right.
We have to have a disclaimer. We have to.
Okay.
Robson, I need a disclaimer button. So when I say something that we just got to have a disclaimer, I can hit it and it's like disclaimer. Yeah. All right. Okay, we're gonna talk about a lot of things that you can do today to protect yourself, including nutrients. But there's no supplement treatment for COVID-19.
No medication treatment.
There's no medication treatment. There's no supplement treatment for influenza, rhinovirus, other coronaviruses, but there are things you can do to support your immune system, and that's what we're going to talk about, right?
Absolutely.
And that's, at the end of the day, I think that's kind of the gist of the story here.
I think so.
You can protect yourself, right?
Absolutely.
Okay. So let's go through some facts.
All right.
Where's your fact sheet?
My fact. Oh, it's right here.
Okay, because you're the one who wrote all this. I don't know. Okay, facts. No. Okay, we're gonna. And the reason we're saying facts is these are facts.
Right.
This isn't myth. These are true facts about the virus, the infection, and what you can do. So we wanted to talk a little bit about the virus first. So tell us a little bit about coronavirus.
Coronaviruses have been around for a very long time, since the 1960s is what...
first discovered, right?
First discovered in the 1960s, present in both animals and humans. To date, for humans in regard, the COVID, or we have to say the name of the virus. So it's the name of the actual virus is SARS-CoV-2.
You couldn't remember.
But I think it's important because this is the 7th coronavirus that has been discovered to be can infect humans.
Right. Okay. I see.
So there are 4 others that are associated with the common cold. And then there are 2 that were more pathogenic. Right. So that was SARS as we know of.
What, 2008, 8?
2000, actually, I have my notes. SARS.
So SARS was a coronavirus
2003, 2004.
Right.
And then we had the MERS.
MERS, which is the Mediterranean or Middle Eastern.
Middle Eastern
one. That was 2012.
12. Okay. 2012.
Yeah.
So those were 2 very pathogenic forms of the coronavirus. And now we
have a graph coming up showing all this a little bit. Yeah.
And now we have SARS-CoV-2. Or the disease name is COVID-19.
Right. So so when we say COVID-19, we're referring to the virus and everything around the virus.
Right. But I think that's important. I spoke with someone today where, I know it was floating around on the internet. Oh, this is something that was manufactured and it was engineered. And this has, it's already on the Lysol can.
Oh, is it?
The Lysol can, when it tells you all of the different pathogens that Lysol
they've included COVID-19.
It was already there.
Yeah.
And that's an indication, and confirmation that this is something that
Yeah.
has already been in our community, cause of the common cold.
Yeah.
But now we have a new strain that,
And that's
seems to be a little more problematic.
right, and that's what we're talking about here. So the coronavirus as a family
Yes.
of viruses, that's the family that was discovered in the 1960s. Mammals, birds,
Yeah.
Common respiratory tract infections, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. Every once in a while, because of the nature of a virus, and we're going to talk about that a
Yes.
little bit, right? Because of the nature of a virus, these things can change a little bit. And when they do change, that allows the virus then to jump from, say, some sort of, let's see, like a bird or something, into another animal, and then eventually into humans. And it's that slight little change that makes it maybe a little more infectious than the common cold.
Correct.
Yeah, because what do viruses want to do at the end of the day?
They want to replicate. That's what they're made for. There's even this idea that they're not even really alive.
It's
They don't have a cell membrane.
They're just replication machines.
That's what they are, but they need a host.
Yes, they have to use a host cell's replicating machinery.
Yeah. Basically, our
Yeah.
genetic material, so
Right.
they can get inside of our cells, hijack our DNA,
They do. They actually become part of it.
and they become part of
Yeah.
it and use our genetic machinery to start making copies
Yeah.
of themselves.
Did I ever tell you? And I was a microbiology major.
No.
I didn't tell you immunology, microbiology before medical
I
school.
loved microbiology.
And I loved the whole viral life cycle,
Yeah.
studying that I did, like in depth, beyond belief, like you wouldn't believe. And at the end of the day, what always blew my mind was because a virus will produce so many offspring in one replication cycle,
Mm-hmm.
and then all those offsprings now go through a replication cycle. You're
Mm-hmm.
talking about generations just within minutes.
Oh, yes.
Hundreds of generations within just minutes. And so you can see when that happens, you can get a slight little change out of one of those. And
Yeah.
now that one that's a little different, who may be a little more infectious for whatever,
Right.
whatever genetic change,
Yeah.
now that one starts making more viruses.
Right. And
Yeah.
so when we look at what we're dealing with now with COVID-19, it looks like this particular virus has a protein that's just more specific to the lower parts of the lungs,
Yeah.
which is why we see some of the, the advanced respiratory symptoms.
Right. So let's now have we figured out specifically this virus causing COVID-19, right? Because I know there's been some theories about what animal it started in and how did it get to humans? Because I think was it not rats?
Bats.
Bats.
That's the idea.
I keep saying rats. Bats.
Not rats.
So it started in a bat, and then it moved to what was that?
We don't know the intermediate.
There's
Yeah.
usually like an intermediate species kind of closer to us in
Yes,
genetics.
yeah.
We don't know what that is, but there was something then that allowed it to move over into humans.
Right. And then, so the idea or the
Bats.
thought is that, it was an animal that was at one of the wet markets in China.
Yeah.
And I started thinking, what is a wet market?
Yeah,
those are the things that
Not sure
that
what a
you
wet
think
market
about
is.
at night. And to
Like
me-
live animals?
Yeah, so
That's
it's
what it
a
means?
place. It's sort of like I imagine it's sort of like a flea market. However, it's a place where people go to buy fresh food, fruit, vegetables. But at a wet market, there will be live animals. They slaughter the animals
Right there.
on site.
Yeah, I've seen
And
that.
so
I've seen
it's wet because the floor, they're always spraying water
Cleaning
to
it.
clean the floor.
Yeah, yeah. So that's where a lot
Or
of these
clean
things
the ground.
Yeah, where a lot of these viruses pop up from.
Yes, yes.
So at the end of the day, we're talking about a corona type virus.
Yeah.
Most of these cause mild infections, common
Yes.
cold. A few of them change just a little bit here, like our virus here causing COVID-19. And so we're going to dig into this a little bit more.
Yeah.
I think most people, I told one of my sisters that we were doing this live. I don't know if she's watching. Elaine, are you watching? I don't know.
Hi, Elaine.
Do you see Elaine Gibson on there? I don't know.
I don't, but I see
She tells me she probably doesn't.
author and.
But anyways, we have 62 people watching live. Thank you guys for joining us right now. The first thing she was like, well, I want to know if I have it. Like, how do I know? Like, what are my symptoms? And that was like the first thing that she said. So I think we should dive in.
Absolutely.
If you do get infected with COVID-19, and I know that's not the technical way to say it, but that's
That's
how we're gonna say
okay.
it.
Yeah, it's the disease.
If you do get infected there, we have a slide from the CDC that's going to lay out what's going to happen. So you want to run through that for us? 'Cause I
so
can't see
these
it.
are some of the symptoms, and most of your symptoms are mild, but they can include fever. The majority of cases will have a fever, cough, some shortness of breath, and the cough is usually kind of like a dry cough is what I'm reading. And that's, for me, that's kind of how you know. Other than that, if you have a very mild case, you may just have, a runny nose. You may have sniffles. It may be something where you may not necessarily think that it is, the coronavirus, but potentially it could be because most people, the clinical presentation is very mild.
Yeah, so we have some other stats here. So symptoms may appear 2 to 14 days. That's where it's tough, right? That means if you're in an area that maybe has an increase in infections with COVID-19, the quarantine would be for that time period. And didn't you just find some data that we're thinking now it could be a little longer than that as well?
Yes, there are some cases now where maybe up to 24 days for
24
the incubation
days.
period.
And that has an implication for city hospitals, city governments, trying to figure out then if there is an outbreak in an area, what then is the expected quarantine time for people that were in that area? And so right now it's 14 days.
Yeah, right now the CDC says, 1 to 14 days. But, what that means also is that many people are shedding viral particles. They're contagious and they don't know it.
Right. Because there's no symptoms at this time.
No symptoms. And then you also have reports of the people who are asymptomatic, meaning they never present.
Right. They carry it and they're shedding it, but they're not. And interestingly, that seems to be in younger people.
Yeah.
So younger people tend to hold the virus and not have symptoms, but shed it.
Right.
And
they never really get sick.
Yeah, and older people are the ones getting sick, and the older you get, the more severe that infection can actually be.
Right.
So there was the cruise ship.
Oh yes.
They I'm sure you guys saw this on the news, right? So was it in Tokyo they had to dock?
I believe it was Tokyo. Yes.
And they couldn't get out. They held them 14 days. I mean, first of all, you guys been on cruises? Can you imagine being in a room for 14 days? That's pretty crazy. I hope they fed them well.
They better.
Oh boy! But maybe
gave them a drink too.
So give a drink or two, relax. So they held them 14 days, and then they finally let people go. And then guess what happened? Like 2 days after that, one of the passengers came down with COVID-19.
Right.
Which tells us the 14-day incubation period.
Yeah. And then I started thinking, I have these enlightening conversations with my husband, and
who's
it's our pillow talk.
Well, and her husband is on the staff at Life Extension Scientific Affairs. Yes, as a supplement company, we have a scientific affairs department.
Absolutely.
And we have scientists that literally this is what they do. They research this stuff all day long.
Yes, and we kind of depend on them to give us all the information. They're, those are the nerds of the company. No fun in their department at all.
It is interesting when you go down to scientific affairs.
This is such a squirrel moment.
It's quiet.
Oh yeah.
And I'm going down there looking
business.
for somebody. I'm like, Andy, where's Ann? Like screaming, and everybody's just like, shh. In education and marketing, we are loud. We're screaming and yelling.
Bunch.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. So we do have an actual scientific affairs department with doctors, with scientists. Her husband's part of that does all this.
Yes, in the pillow talk. So we were talking about the cruise ship situation, and
that's sad.
I said, well, what do you think that's all about? And he said, well, maybe they were infected the last day, like day 13.
Or even they could have been infected if the incubation period's longer.
Yeah.
Right. We don't really know. So that's your pillow talks?
Yeah. Hey,
that's what
you have to keep it spicy.
COVID-19 keeps it spicy? Different show, different topic. We'll come back to that, Krista.
Okay.
All right. So here, a couple stats. I just want to run through some of these. So fever will present in 83% to 98% of the
Yes.
people. Dry cough in 76% to 82%.
Mm-hmm.
And fatigue, or what they call the malaise,
just not
kinda,
feeling well.
achy, that
Yeah.
kind of stuff, in 11 to 44%. See, here's the problem. It sounds like the flu. And that's where you're having, I think, a significant number of undocumented cases.
Very true.
Where people are just suffering the flu, they're young, they get through it. They could have been COVID-19, never knew it.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, so as we said, the incubation period is 1 to 14 days, but the median time seems to be about 5 to 6 days.
Yes.
Okay, so that's some basic facts. Now, so speaking of flu
Right.
and cold, how do we distinguish? Because when I was talking to my sister, that was like kind of the next
Yeah.
question. It was,
Yeah.
I didn't realize I used her kind of to set this up. Thanks, Elaine. Here's not even watching. Like, how do we know, like, what is that difference? So we got cold, which is some coronaviruses,
Right.
and rhinovirus.
Right.
We have flu, influenza, and now we have COVID-19. So we have another slide. Let's take a look
Yeah.
at that, and you can run through this.
So when we started pulling the data to just kind of see how can we guide you, the difference between the cold and flu, what could it be? Really what stood out to us is the, where was it?
Wasn't it the muscle stuff?
The muscle
Yeah.
soreness.
Yeah.
With the flu. And then you also see with the flu, it hits you like a brick.
Yeah, that was the key thing, right? So the flu is abrupt.
Very abrupt within a couple of days.
Listen, you know when you got the flu. Come
You
on.
are out. You're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
You've sort of quarantined
You
yourself.
you do. There is with hardcore flu.
Yeah.
It's quick and people self quarantine fast.
And that's the difference with what we're seeing now
Yeah.
with this new coronavirus is that people they're not that ill. Most people,
Right.
So
It's
they
mild
are
for most
out
people.
and about spreading it throughout the land.
Feeling fine, going to a restaurant, coughing. Well,
Yeah,
and
a little
that is
cough.
that is why the CDC does recommend trying to avoid people
Yeah.
who might be in public coughing, right? I mean, that's probably something
Yeah.
good to do. At the end of the day, as a clinician, you guys, unless you test, it's pretty hard to distinguish
Very true.
between, for most people, right? For most people with the mild to moderate severity, it's going to be hard to know cold versus influenza versus COVID-19, and
Yeah.
that's going to be tough. So we're going to talk about, if you feel sick, what are you going to do? We have a
Yes.
whole section coming up on that. What do you do if you feel sick? But before we get there, you wanted to kind of run through a little more of the numbers about some of the mortality rate here.
I think so. I think it's
'Cause people are
this
worried.
really helps
They're
us to
worried.
put it into perspective. That the next couple of diagrams will kind of, or tables, we'll go through some of those. So yes, so you'll see the table that we're looking at now highlights records from 72,314 cases.
Okay.
And the
and
Chinese
this
CDC.
is COVID-19 cases, right?
Yes.
here. Right.
So the Chinese CDC published, these first details. It's the largest summary that we have of thus far. So
Yeah.
this is where we're getting a lot of the data in regard to
Hold on one
what
sec.
we can expect.
An interesting question just popped up from Lynn. Did you see that, Holly? Lynn Aaron is asking, can you have it but have no symptoms?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, that was the whole point, right? That there's a certain amount of people that carry this,
Yeah.
that don't actually have symptoms, and they are the ones out in the environment.
Yeah.
They're the ones shedding the virus in many cases. And Lynn, it turns out to be most younger people
Yeah.
seem to be infected without any symptoms. So yes, that is possible.
Yep.
Yeah.
So when you look at, if we can go back to the slide, yes, looking at some of the details. So I can just walk
It's
through
just
them.
that arrow button, Rob. So you just hit that arrow.
So let's put this into perspective. When we look at the age range,
Right.
most people are not really in the age range where
The
we
death rate is
see
high.
Fatality.
Yeah.
No fatalities in children
0 to 9. Wow, look
0
at that.
to 9.
Yeah.
So you see it in older individuals, 80 plus years old. And this is really, the purpose of this is for you to kind of see where you fit in this picture, to
Right.
identify, should I be,
Like, do I really need to be? Do I need to be more vigilant about this if I do get infected,
and
right?
Dr.
Or if I do have
Gossard,
symptoms?
this kind of the morbidity section goes along with another question we just had about somebody is concerned because they are high risk, so they're really concerned about prevention. So, if you see any of these comorbidities listed, just, take extra precaution.
Exactly. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so one thing that we found that, 87% of cases were between the ages of 30 and 79. The symptoms were mild for 81% of patients.
Right.
So we're not talking about a large group of people who were experiencing very severe
Most
symptoms.
people, it's mild, right?
Yes. So most were mild, 14% experienced severe symptoms, and
then
5 were critical. So here's the kicker. No one in the mild and severe categories died.
Right.
So we're looking at only 5% of individuals that actually died.
Okay. Wow. All right.
So, this starts putting it into perspective.
It gives you a better
because
perspective,
it can
yeah.
seem very scary, but basically what we're trying to say is based on this data, the data that we have thus far, and of course this is it's preliminary. Usually you can't really gauge, the severity of a disease until after it's over.
It has to be done. We can actually look at the total
maybe,
numbers, right?
a couple
Yeah.
of years from now, we'll be able
Some of these
to,
numbers
to,
but can
to
you-
put this into perspective. But if we can go
Robson,
back.
put that up again because I have a question now.
Okay.
Okay. So when we put this up, so we're looking at the death rate based on age group.
Yes.
Based on reported diagnoses. Like these people
Right.
have been diagnosed with COVID-19 infection, right? So isn't it possible when you think about the potential of people with mild cases, they're not going into the hospitals, they're not going to their primary care doctors, they have COVID-19, but they're never diagnosed. That could be a decent population of people. How is that going to affect these death rate percents?
So this will, and some of these cases are mild, but we will see that the overall, death percentages are thought to be much lower,
Right.
because of all of the asymptomatic people out there. So, we're kind of looking at this small pool and
Of
engaging
confirmed cases.
of confirmed cases.
Right.
But there could be many, many more out there that would drive the overall mortality rate
Right.
down.
So a couple papers have been published, right? There's been some that have shown, and I don't remember the exact numbers, but I think right now the mortality rate overall is 3% or something close to
So
that.
right now, based on this data, 2.3, but there are some kind of smaller subgroups that have identified 2%, one maybe as low as 1%.
Yeah, and I think because they're trying to factor in some of those more undiagnosed cases,
Exactly.
right? So when you start to add in that larger pool of people who might have the infection but aren't being reported, it drives down the mortality rate.
Yes, and we actually will look at a comparison of the mortality rate of this versus
Well, let's do that.
the flu.
This is
yes,
perfect.
Let's go ahead and
Let's
go
to the next slide.
to that slide. So we put this together, and this is kind of, putting everything into perspective. So what we see on this table are the 2003 SARS virus. We have the 2019 SARS virus, and then we have the MERS coronavirus, and then those three are kind of compared to influenza.
Right. And influenza is kind of like the base one we're comparing
Right.
because that's what's common this time of the year, right?
Exactly. So we see the incubation period where influenza about 2 days. So that's where
Quick and
it kinda
hard, man.
comes on.
Woo! Influenza, don't
people-
waste time.
People affected. This blew my mind. 1 billion people. This is globally
32 million in the United
in
States.
the U.S.
Yeah.
And
Or influenza, yeah.
And you look at about half of people actually get the flu vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
Then you start thinking, well, if you're really concerned, then, you should be more concerned with influenza.
Yeah, and it's kind of when you look at the people affected, so you got, 1 billion people annually, and you're looking at less than 100,000 for, the COVID-19 virus. And you can see the numbers for SARS and MERS there. So,
But look at the deaths. So influenza, we see up to 650,000 people die annually.
Yeah. Which gives you
18,000 in the U.S.
Yeah,
so
and that's where we're getting the
perspective.
and that's where we're getting the 0.2%, right?
Right, because it's more widespread. So
Yeah.
then that drives down the case fatality rate. But what we look at, with the 2019 coronavirus is, although the mortality rate or case fatality rate is 2.3%, it's not factoring in those asymptomatic people.
Our pool, so right now, the 92,818 people, those are the confirmed cases, right?
Right.
Those are people that have been tested and they have the virus causing COVID-19. Okay. But the question then becomes, what truly is the affected pool? It's not 92,818. It could be 200,000. It could be 3. I don't know. But when you factor that in, a death rate of 2.3%, I believe, my personal opinion, this is elevated.
Right. And the thoughts is probably closer to what we see with the flu.
Yeah. Maybe a little higher, or bad flu season, like an aggressive flu season or something.
So what all of this means is the same precautions that you would take to not catch the flu.
We're going to talk about that
You
now,
should
right?
do the same thing
it's
now.
Pretty much the same stuff. So let's get into that. So you go through, what are my symptoms, right? That's like the first thing. And how do I know, do I have this or not have you? And then the question becomes, so if I am starting to feel something, right?
Right.
It's like, I'm getting sick. Something's going on.
Oh, well, I told you a couple of days ago. I was like, oh no, I have
Well,
it.
you should back up and tell them the whole story. Who got sick first?
You.
I got sick first.
He was sick. And I just knew, I was like, he has the coronavirus.
You did. No.
I just know it.
True story. We're supposed to be traveling together. I wake up this Monday morning. I have a fever. This is 2 weeks ago?
Yes,
2
weeks ago.
I have a fever. I tell her, listen, I just don't think it's right for me to get on a plane. Good point, right?
That
I had a
was true.
fever and I stayed home, even
did.
though I
That was
needed
the right
to
thing.
film something. I stayed home, and the very first thing she texts me back, she doesn't ask how I'm doing, Robson, Hannah. She doesn't say, "Oh, poor thing," nothing. She just says, "Is it Corona?" Right? You did.
I did.
I'm
I
like-
confess.
So I said, yes. And I'm getting on that plane. No.
No, but I think your story, that's the lesson. That's the message that we hope that all of you hear and receive, is that if you have a fever, stay at home.
Yeah. Well, let's go through this. So we have a
Yeah.
great slide. We're going to go through these slowly because this,
Okay.
I think, is important. So what to do if you do get sick. First bullet point we have there is know your risk.
Right. And we showed that. If you have some of those comorbidities,
Cardiovascular disease,
diabetes, if you have
cancer, treatment for cancer.
respiratory diseases, COPD. If you are, I think about my father-in-law. He's on immunosuppressant drugs, from his liver transplant. Those are the people.
I had my friend who was staying with me is being treated for lymphoma. Remember I told you that?
Yes.
So when I got sick, coronavirus or not, I had some sort of, this time of the year, there's a lot of weird viruses floating around.
Yeah.
We call it viral syndrome month. I mean, or season. That's really what we should name it. It's not just flu season.
Right.
It's weird virus season. And I isolated myself from
That's
her.
what you have to do.
Yeah, I had a TV in my room. I have my own controller. I had my own. I actually got had a friend bring over food and paper plates and stuff, so I didn't have to worry about dishes. And it didn't matter to me whether it was corona or not. I needed to isolate myself from other people in the house that were immunosuppressed.
Absolutely.
So know your risk. I mean, at the end of the day, it comes down to, and if you do have a risk factor. You probably already know this, right? You've been told this. Immunodepressed people for whatever reason, cardiovascular disease, cancers, as we said. In those cases, do you freak out? No. You just be more vigilant.
Yes. And you can
Monitoring-
follow some of the rest of the tips.
Just follow some of these tips more closely. Monitor your symptoms a little bit more closely. That's all you do.
Yeah.
So that's know your risk. Number 2, stay home except to get medical care. Tell us about that one. What do you
That's
think?
true. Well, you want to, and this is, again, if you're sick. then you don't want to be out and about. And that's the problem that we're having. The people with the mild symptoms, they're going out, and you just want to be vigilant.
Yeah. And this is not, I mean, we appreciate the fact too that this is not always easy for some people.
Yeah.
I mean, people got to go to work, right? I mean, we get that. We understand that. But as best you can, if fever, cough, aches, and whether you think it's flu or not, staying at home is really important.
Yeah.
And even notice we said here, stay at home unless you're getting medical care. You can even do things with telemedicine now too.
Yeah.
Which makes it a little bit easier. All right, number 3, separate yourself. That's what I did. Now, look at it says from people and animals. I didn't do that. My dog was in my room.
Aw.
Separate yourself from other people and animals in your home.
Yes.
Yeah. Quarantine yourself. Self-quarantine.
Absolutely.
It's boring. God, I was bored. It's...
Dr. Mike.
Yes.
So I know we're going to get into some nutrients that could be supportive, but I did want to address some questions we have coming in about certain nutrients that, they want our opinion on what may be helpful. So a few things that came up is maitake, cat's claw, elderberry.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. So we have a whole section coming up on what we think are I mean, there's all kinds of things, right? All kinds of nutrients. We're going to list out what we think are great research-supported nutrients, right? Elderberry has some decent research specifically against rhinovirus. Yeah. I'm not sure about other coronaviruses, stuff like that.
Maitake is, that's the mushroom.
Yeah, great for immune
support.
What was the other one?
Maitake, cat's claw.
Cat's
and
claw.
I'm not so sure about cat's claw as much, but
I haven't really seen that in the realm of immune support. But maitake, shiitake, all of those.
A mushroom blend.
Yes.
A nice mushroom blend would be great.
Those are all very beneficial just for overall
reishi.
Immune support. Yes.
Reishi, great for natural killer cells.
Yes, red reishi.
Don't do it as a tea. It's horrible. It is.
I've had it as a tea. It was good. It was like a hot chocolate.
Oh my gosh, it is not.
No,
it is not like
the tea that I had was a hot
chocolate.
Oh, that is not
reishi tea. Okay, we're moving on.
Okay.
All right, go. All right, so but we got some more nutrients coming up. It's the worst tea in the world. All right, we're gonna go to number.
Just note that these are coming directly from the CDC's website.
Yeah, this is this is conventional medicine, good, and Life Extension believes this stuff. I mean, we support this completely.
Absolutely.
All right, so now here's the thing. Notice it says wear a face mask.
In parentheses.
Only if you're sick.
Yes.
You guys, if you're not sick, you don't need a face mask. It's the sick people that need the mask so they're not spreading
And here's the truth of the matter. Viral particles are so tiny. Trust me, that face mask is not blocking out those particles.
Most face masks you're going to buy in your convenience stores and stuff like that, they are not certified as antiviral.
Right. But I'll tell you what they can do, and what I guess epidemiologists are identifying is that they are helping to keep people from touching their nose and their mouth.
No, but see, I don't believe that at all. I actually think when people wear these masks, if they're not fitted right, there is one you can get that's fitted. Takes weeks to get it fitted. It's not easy to do. You're not going to find it. Unless you're doing that, most people are touching too much.
Well, yes, that's true. But it's. I think there are pros and cons. There's this idea that it's keeping people, one, from touching their mouths and noses. And it's also reminding people that, hey, I need to kind of keep my distance. I need to stay away. It's just sort of the community reminder that, hey, we have something that's going around right now. We're not quite sure exactly what it's doing, how it's going to behave. It's new. So maybe I should just be a little more careful.
No.
We can agree to disagree.
No. If you're sick, you wear it. If you're not sick, save the mask for the healthcare providers that need it. Come on. All right. We're going to go on to the next one.
Cover your cough and sneezes.
Yes. Listen,
simple.
It's simple, but it's also easy to forget sometimes. You got a sneeze coming up. You're not, but you just, simple stuff, guys.
Don't do this and then go and hug someone.
Go hug your husband at your pillow talks about coronavirus.
I know.
All right.
Well, I thought about my husband. I think it's one of our avoid sharing personal household items. So this morning, I finished brushing my teeth.
Let them show that for us, Robson. So she just skipped one. Clean your hands often.
Because to avoid sharing personal household items,
Yeah.
that one resonates with me because this morning I finished brushing my teeth and we have the hand towel, hanging, and I went to wipe my mouth and then I thought about the coronavirus and I was like, oh no, this is not happening anymore in this house.
As a single guy, I think it's kind of weird you guys don't have your own towels for that.
Yeah, well, we have just there are actually two towels.
You
there.
have a communal towel that you wipe.
There
your mouth
are
and
two
snot
towels
with.
there, and
weird,
I
right,
just
Hannah?
enacted
It's not weird,
a
Hannah?
policy of the two towels.
So Robson, you're married. Do you share towels?
No.
You have your separate towels, right?
Oh, yeah.
Hannah, what do you do?
You have
towels.
separate towels for
We're taking a
drying
survey.
your body.
We're taking a survey. Holly.
So in the guest bathroom, there's one towel. So if you wash your hands in there, it's a shared towel.
But what about in your
in our bathroom, we have two separate towels.
All right. You lose.
Okay. Well, we have two separate towels now,
Okay.
starting today.
Let's go back up to our list.
If we can share kisses, we can share towels.
Let's go on. Clean. Oh yeah, this is important. Clean all high-touch surfaces every day. Don't forget your remote controls.
The light switch.
Light switch. Microwave handle.
Yes.
Yeah.
Dishwasher
Cell
handle.
phone.
I've been touching the water container fountain with my elbow.
Water
Like,
container fountain. I'm not sure what that is,
Well,
but
it's
do
like-
your elbow.
it's not a water fountain where you have to be in the office to know what I'm talking about.
I know what you're talking about.
I do too. So
The
you do
automatic water dispenser and the little
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
So I just use a paper towel and I push it
that.
down.
Yeah. Let's not get silly. I mean, it's just basic precautions,
Yeah.
right? If you wash your hands a lot, open a door, you're fine. Just keep washing your hands throughout
Yeah.
the day. You're
Right.
okay. Here's a trivia question for the audience. You ready?
Okay.
You didn't know I was going to do this.
No, I can't wait.
If you know the answer, don't.
Okay.
All right. Washing your hands, we know you have to do it for at least 20 seconds or the happy bird. 20 seconds, right?
Can I talk?
Yeah. It's happy birthday twice.
Yes,
20 seconds.
20 seconds.
So here's your trivia question. Does the water have to be hot?
Ooh.
Does the
Good
water
question.
have to be hot to wash your hands with soap for 20 seconds? What do you think? No, don't say nothing, Holly. Is anybody answering? I don't know. No one's answering. Do you
We
want
did
me
have
to?
one answer. We have a
Oh,
no from
okay.
Michelle.
Michelle says no. What do you think? Well, don't say nothing yet. Do you have to wash your hands with hot water if you're using soap? 5, 4, 3, 2.
A few more
Crystal,
no's.
what's the answer?
No.
No. Yeah. So Kathleen, Lynn, Michelle, you guys are all
Okay.
right.
Question 2.
No. We don't have time for your trivia.
Okay.
question.
Well, let's just say that the soap does not have to be antibacterial soap.
Just regular soap.
Just regular soap.
Yeah.
And it's a virus, not a bacteria.
Thank you.
But in general, you don't need antibacterial. Yeah, we overdo that stuff. Okay, good job, you guys. All right, so let's, last thing we need to talk about real quick. Monitor your symptoms.
Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of the day, you guys, look at your fever. Check it once in a while. Write down that number and just see, is it getting worse or
Yeah.
not getting worse,
Do
right?
you have the dry cough?
Dry cough. Is it getting worse or not getting worse? If things are getting worse, what are you going to do? So we got to talk about that, right?
Don't leave your house. Make a phone call.
Make a phone call. Now, you're going to call the CDC? Are you going to call your local hospital? No, you're going to call your
local doctor.
local primary care
care physician.
health care provider.
And they will guide you.
They will guide you
through
what the next steps
What to do, where to go.
Yeah.
And
Because if you go to your, keep in mind, most doctors' offices, at least at this point, don't have the ability to test.
Right.
They don't have the test kits. Test kits are at certain medical centers in each city,
Mm-hmm.
and it's your primary care physician or healthcare practitioner that's going to know that. They've been instructed, and they will make that. I don't know if they make the contact for you, but they'll at least give you that number, and they'll get you connected. Always consider your primary healthcare provider as that person who can be your gatekeeper to things, you know?
Yeah, and I think the other part of that is now you're out and about, you're touching the elevator button, you're touching the door. So now you're potentially putting other people at risk in the doctor's office.
Right. So testing is available. It's not widespread here, unfortunately, in the United States yet, but I think we're going to get there soon.
Looks to be really soon, hopefully
and there'll be
this
some
week.
rapid testing. But at this point, call your healthcare provider as you monitor your symptoms, and they are getting worse. So now what are you going to do about it? What are some things we can do to help our immune system remain healthy and robust during not just COVID-19, but just during what we're going to call wacky viral syndrome season?
Okay.
Right?
All right.
Because there's some wacky viruses out there floating around. Right?
And this is where life extension really shines.
I think so.
Our protocol.
Yeah. Tell us about how that's made.
You know, the team worked quickly, and yet Dr. Mike already talked about our group of scientists that, you know, they just got together and started digging through the research to put something together to be, you know, helpful for you all with helping to understand what's going on with this virus and how you can support yourself nutritionally. Now, Life Extension, we have an influenza protocol. We have a common cold protocol. So we have protocols where all of them have a variety of nutrients.
Right.
So I know one question that we've already, you know, received is, you know, why don't you have this nutrient? And
in your
why
protocol,
aren't you
why
discussing
this
this
one?
nutrient? And so they're really looking at the research for related to viruses that are more similar to what we're dealing with now with the coronavirus, or nutrients that target respiratory, like their focus, the research for those nutrients
on
have
the
been
respiratory
focused
ones more,
on respiratory illnesses.
Right. At the end of the day, it's the protocol we're providing. You can get it at lifeextension.com. It's research based.
Yeah.
It's, I'm going to say it again, copiously referenced.
Yes.
Is that too fancy?
No, I like it.
Copiously referenced, and it's all about facts. Let's go back to the facts, right? This is not crazy voodoo whatever stuff, right? And I'm going to say, I need my disclaimer button, Robson. All right. Disclaimer. Again, we're not saying any of these nutrients we're about to talk about are coronavirus treating things. They're not. We can't say that anyways. These are simply nutrients that are immune supporting, and it could be very helpful during this time.
So let's start with melatonin.
Yeah. Melatonin. It's not
immune
just for sleep.
support, but also sleep, because if you're not sleeping, you're not supporting your immune system.
Right,
so that's just something very simple, making sure that you are getting an adequate night's worth of sleep.
Yeah. I like melatonin because it has a lot of good whole body benefit too. It does, to the immune system.
Yes.
To anti-cancer properties to it. So it's really melatonin is a great go-to.
Yeah, and we do know that melatonin levels start to decline at around in the 40s.
40s, 50s. So melatonin is a big one. We also talked about, we've already talked about, you mentioned that like we had, what was it? What were those?
Elderberry,
mushrooms. Yes, all of those are great
claw.
things. But more specifically to what we're dealing with today, I think an important one is selenium.
Yeah. Selenium. You know, eat a few Brazil nuts.
Is that the clinical nutritionist knows the food source.
Brazil nuts, that'll give you all the selenium you need. And selenium has been shown to have powerful immune boosting, antiviral properties.
Green tea antioxidants, like EGCG.
Yep.
Really good for promoting healthy immune system. Probiotics.
That should have been number one.
Well, I'm sorry.
I started with sleep. I'm torn between sleep and probiotics.
Because none of those are my number one. You know my number one.
I know your number one, but let's go back to probiotics.
Okay, go back.
So we do know that 70% of your immune system is in your gut.
Yeah.
And the probiotics can be very helpful with just kind of managing the immune response and supporting some of the activation of some of the cells that's going to be necessary to mount a robust response. But we also know that probiotics, they're not just in the gut. We have probiotics
in your mucosal membranes,
mucosal
the
membranes.
respiratory system.
Yes,
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of those probiotics are beneficial with helping to increase one of your immune cells, IgA.
An antibody.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's an antibody that specifically helps.
It's your frontline defense antibody.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so we know that probiotics, certain strains can really
Boost
help
that.
to boost those antibodies in your mucosal membranes.
Right. So probiotics, selenium, green tea, antioxidants, and of course melatonin for sleep. But melatonin has some immune properties in and of itself. And of course, the best one ever. And it's not the best one ever, but it is.
I have another one that's high. I know which one you're going to say. I'll let you say it, and then I'll trump that.
I don't know if you know. I don't know if you know what I'm going to say. Yeah, you do.
I wish I had-
Lactoferrin.
I thought you were going to say zinc.
I thought you were going to say
well,
vitamin D.
zinc is big too. Okay, I like them all. No, lactoferrin is one of my favorite. It comes from mother's milk.
Yeah.
Really helps to boost a lot of different types of immune cells. But let's, as we get in, what did you just say? I'm sorry.
I thought you were going to say vitamin D.
Vitamin D, yeah, because that was my next thing. Some of the basics too, right? A good multivitamin, vitamin D, vitamin C, all those good, great antioxidants.
Speaking of vitamin C, did you know that in China there is a study underway using IV vitamin C?
Yeah, I saw
I
that.
couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I was so excited. I
Yeah,
was
it's
like,
nice
what
to
if
see-
vitamin C
Is the answer.
turn out to be it?
Yeah, that's great. So, going back to lactoferrin, I take it every day because I travel a lot. We've talked about this with the audience, and I like it because I like the source. I like the idea that this is like one of the first true proteins that enters into the infant circulation, and it's how an infant can survive the first few days.
That's so
boosting the
true.
immune system, and it has some of those same effects as adults. What was going to be yours?
Vitamin D.
Vitamin D, yeah, for sure. Know your vitamin D blood level, but probably, in my opinion, 2,000, even upwards of 5,000 units a day for this time of the year.
You may need a little more blood levels. Look for around 50 to 80 nanograms per deciliter.
Yeah.
Is a nice target.
I wrote a blog once called "Viruses Hate Bitter Herbs."
Oh.
Titled "Viruses Hate Bitter Herbs." So bitter herbs, aronia, andrographis, astragalus. These are all also good things. Again, none of these nutrients are specific to like treating a virus, but they really are just about helping your immune system fight the infection, be strong, and be robust. So C, D, melatonin, lactoferrin, the green tea, the probiotics, all of these are powerful, and I would make those my foundation immune support nutrients right now.
Absolutely. And what you see, many of them, they're just helping to enhance the action of the immune cells.
Yeah.
Like the NK cells, those natural killer cells that's floating around in the bloodstream, and their job is to look for viruses.
Yeah. So like reishi and the mushrooms we talked about before. Not the reishi tea. It's horrible.
Okay.
Well, you didn't even do it. You did like a hot chocolate with it or something. So hopefully at the end of the day, what we've given you is some really good facts about COVID-19. Listen, it is in our environment. It is already in the United States. It's in our communities. The best thing to do is be vigilant about it.
Yeah.
Watch, the hand washing, avoiding people who are coughing as much as you can. And some of these suggestions are a little crazy. Just be vigilant about your health at this time of the year, and really think of it as just that wacky viral syndrome season.
Yeah.
And do some of these nutrients right now. That's the thing. I wouldn't wait.
Oh, no.
I wouldn't
no.
wait. I'd start these nutrients right away. Build up the immune response, the immune system in you right now. Get started on these things. Get the defenses going so that if something does infect you, you have a frontline defense ready to go and ready to fight.
And also, just to add to that, think about if you are in one of those higher risk groups, you have a comorbidity, then think about, what am I doing to get my blood sugar under control?
Yeah. Basic things like that
basic
too.
things that you can do to, kind of manage your risk.
Yeah. This good stuff. Dr. Gosser?
Hopefully it's helpful to you. I know there's so much information, and really, we're not here to replace the official government.
Actually, most of our stuff was this official CDC stuff.
Yes, we're Life Extension. We just try to, pull together the research, what's out there, and package it in a way where it can help you to
and
be healthy.
Stick with credible sources, guys. Right.
Yes.
Stick with credible sources.
No, don't lather yourself in sesame oil.
What is?
It's not going to work. I mean, there's some
told
crazy.
You people are doing that?
There are a few crazy things that's out there. If they're making just outrageous claims, don't follow it.
All right, Dr. Gosser, good job.
Thank you.
I want to thank everybody for watching. Don't forget, share this, like it, comment. Let us know what you think about this. The big thing is subscribe, right? We would like for you to be able to follow us. We go live every Wednesday now.
Every Wednesday.
We're going to have next Wednesday at 3 o'clock, we're going to have a COVID-19 recap.
Yeah.
And an update to anything new that might be going on. But every Wednesday, 3 p.m., Life Extension Live. I'm Dr. Mike. I'm Dr.
Crystal Gossard.
Thanks for watching. Take care.